She does and gets the foul.
Caitlin Clark is at the center of a story the league never wanted told. A WNBA referee has finally broken their silence. And what they revealed about Caitlin Clark is shaking everything fans thought they understood. For months, viewers have watched Clark get pushed, grabbed, and hit on her drives with no whistle. Many were told it was just rookie treatment.
Clark was trying to redirect a pass. Clark, oh my! From Schenectady!
Physical play, a lesson every newcomer must learn. That explanation sounded simple. Too simple. Because behind closed doors, something else was happening. Guidance was being passed down. Not about protecting the league's biggest draw, but about how her game should be called. Fans felt it. Players noticed it. And now an official voice confirms it wasn't random. This isn't just about missed fouls. It's about power, control, and a quiet decision that may have changed an entire season. Stay with us because the truth behind Caitlin Clark's treatment is more calculated than anyone expected. The rookie everyone watched. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA with more eyes on her than any rookie in many years. From sold-out college arenas to packed professional stadiums, she brought the same fearless style that made fans fall in love with her game. She shot from deep range without fear.
Clark, step back three, knocks it down!
Every move felt bold, like she belonged on the biggest stage from day one. In her first few weeks, the effect was clear. Ticket sales jumped in cities she visited. Television ratings rose higher than expected. Social media is filled with clips of her long shots and quick passes. People were not just watching games anymore. They were watching Caitlin Clark. Fans came early just to see her warm up. Kids wore her jersey. Commentators called her the future of the league. But with attention came pressure. Defenders did not treat her gently. They played her hard from the first tip. Arms reached in. Bodies bumped her on every drive. On some nights, she was knocked off balance again and again as she tried to reach the rim. The crowd reacted loudly. Gasps filled the arena. Fans at home shouted at their screens. Even announcers paused, waiting for a whistle that never came. Still, the whistle stayed quiet. Many people tried to explain it away. They said this was how rookies learn.
Outstanding offensive rebounding team. Clark connects.
They said every young star must go through tough treatment. Physical play builds strength. Hard defense shows respect. At first, those words sounded reasonable. Basketball has always been tough. New players must earn their place. Yet, Caitlin Clark was not just another rookie. She carried something different. She was the most talked about player the league had seen in years. Her name brought viewers, money, and hope for growth. She was not only learning the league, she was shaping its future. That is what made her journey feel strange. Her road looked harder than those before her. Other rookies in past seasons received fouls when they drove into contact. Clark often did not. Where others went to the free throw line, she went back on defense. Game after game, the same pattern appeared. Tough hit, no call, play on. Some players began to notice. Quiet conversations happened in locker rooms. A few coaches started to question what they were seeing. They did not speak loudly, but they spoke carefully. Something about Clark's games felt different from others. Then came the moment that changed everything. A referee admitted that games involving Caitlin Clark were discussed differently before they even started. Music, not in public, not in official statements, in private rooms before the ball was thrown into the air. Her name carried weight in those meetings. That changed how people looked back at the season. What once felt like random Ms. calls now looked like part of a pattern. What seemed like simple rookie treatment now felt like something planned. Her story stopped being only about basketball skills.
Clark drives, spins, gets inside, gets the and one layup to go.
It became about endurance, about how much contact she could survive, about how long she could stay quiet and keep playing without complaint. Caitlin Clark did not respond with anger. She did not argue with referees. She stood up, adjusted her jersey, and kept moving forward. Her silence became part of her image. Strong, focused, unshaken. In the end, Her rookie season was not just a test of talent. It was a test of patience, courage, and control. And the world was watching every step of it. The message before the game. Before every major WNBA matchup, referees gather in quiet rooms away from cameras and fans. They go over the rules, discuss key players, and plan how to handle situations that could decide a game in the final minutes. It's routine, part of the league's effort to keep games fair and smooth. But over time, one name started coming up again and again. Caitlin Clark.
Here's Clark. Trying to wheel into some space, gives it up. Back Benley lays it in.
An official speaking later under the condition of anonymity revealed that the instructions for her games were unusual. They were not about protecting her. They were not about calling tighter fouls to keep her safe. Instead, the message was the opposite. Let the contact happen. Let her feel pressure. Let her struggle. On paper, it sounded simple, but the effect was dangerous. The idea was that Clark fighting through physical play would make her story more dramatic. Fans watching on television would see her persevere, fall, get up, and push forward again. Music, that tension, that struggle would keep audiences glued to the screen. This was not something written in the WNBA rulebook. The league clearly states that every player deserves the same protection. No hand-checking, no music pushing, no using the arms to block a player's movement. Every perimeter player should have the freedom to move safely.
Get so much attention that she can find players cutting and moving.
In those private pregame rooms, what was said mattered more than what was printed on paper. Instructions, hints, and strategies shared among referees shaped what would happen on the court. Once this tone was set, the games reflected it. Missed calls started to add up. Clark would drive to the basket and meet defenders with hard contact.
She made contact with J.C. Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
On some plays, fans gasped as bodies collided. Coaches clenched their jaws. Commentators leaned closer to their microphones, trying to describe what they were seeing. Yet, the whistle stayed silent. Clark absorbed the hits, adjusted her balance, and continued, music, to play. She could not argue or complain because the game had already been influenced by what had been said before it began.
Caitlin, and she has officially moved on up in the record books.
To a viewer, it might have looked like chance, like random decisions or a referee having a bad night. But in truth, it was a pattern carefully set before the first jump ball. Each time Clark was tested physically, music, and no foul was called, the story was reinforced. The audience would watch her fight, music, admire her courage, and feel the tension of a star overcoming struggle. Her experience that season became about more than just basketball skills. It was about endurance, focus, and resilience under invisible pressure. Every game started with a subtle setup, music, and Clark had to navigate not only her opponents, but also the silent expectations shaped before the opening tip. By the end of the season, fans were aware something felt different about her games, music, even if they could not name it. They felt the tension, the drama, the constant test she faced. But the full truth that much of it was decided before she ever stepped onto the court only came out later when insiders finally spoke. It changed how people looked back at every tough collision, every missed whistle, music, and every late game drive. Clark's journey was no longer just about scoring points or winning games. It became about navigating a system that had already set the stage for her struggle. And she did it without complaint, proving not only her talent, but also her incredible strength. When numbers start talking, feelings can be debated. Opinions can clash, but numbers rarely lie. When analysts and basketball experts started digging into Caitlin Clark's rookie season.
Clark comes up with a steal. Clark thought about pulling up from three, will tip inside.
They noticed something unusual. Clark was driving to the basket more than almost any other rookie guard in recent years, showing the same fearless style she had displayed in college. Yet, despite her aggressive play, she earned fewer free throws than many rookies who faced similar contact. It was confusing at first. How could someone with so many drives to the rim receive fewer calls in her favor? Other rookies before her were often rewarded for hard contact. When defenders tried to push, shove, or block their path, music referees would call fouls. It was expected part of the game's balance. But Clark's experience seemed different. She absorbed hits, slid through collisions,
And there's Clark turning the corner, getting to the rim and drawing the foul.
and carried on without the benefit of the whistle. The pattern appeared again and again. Missed calls stacked up against her, not for her. The league keeps detailed reports for close games. They show every call, every non-call, and highlight mistakes. Analysts pored over these numbers from Clark's games, comparing her stats with those of other rookies who handled the ball as much as she did. In several instances, the reports admitted that fouls were missed when Clark was clearly struck by defenders. Some were minor contacts, others were significant enough to change the outcome of a play. One moment stood out vividly. Late in a tight game, Clark drove straight into a defender's chest. The arena fell silent, the crowd holding its breath, expecting a whistle. Nothing came. The game continued. The next day, the league's report confirmed it should have been a foul. That lost opportunity altered the final moments, shifting momentum in favor of the opposing team. At this point, the story shifted.
Caitlin Clark. Clark bodies right through Sherrod in an early bucket for Kate.
This was no longer about a referee making a judgment call in the heat of the moment. It was music, about documented proof. Data on paper confirmed that Clark was treated differently from her peers, even when her performance demanded equal protection. The pattern was too consistent to be a coincidence. The numbers did not shout. They whispered at first, but when combined, they told the story fans had sensed all season. Caitlin Clark faced a tougher path, one measured not just in points or drives, but in missed protections, overlooked fouls, and the subtle shaping of games before they were even played. This data revealed a truth that words alone could not. It showed how her resilience became part of the spectacle. Every drive, every collision.
But they've got Caitlin Clark to fire away from three.
Every missed call contributed to a larger narrative. Clark's courage and skill were undeniable, but the numbers showed the hidden layer of her season, a layer that only careful analysis could uncover. A layer that revealed the silent pressure she faced week after week. By the end of the season, fans began to notice. The stats confirmed what their eyes had been telling them all along. Clark was extraordinary, but the numbers told the fuller story. She had to fight harder than anyone expected, both against opponents and the invisible forces shaping her games. Follow, music, the money. Basketball is not only played on the court. It is also played in offices, behind closed doors, in meetings that fans will never see. The decisions made there can shape games, seasons, and even the future of a league. Caitlin Clark's arrival in the WNBA was one of those moments that shifted attention far beyond the hardwood.
Clark looking to shake. Gives it up. Lob it in.
Her name alone brought crowds to arenas that had been quiet in previous seasons. Tickets sold out faster than expected. Her jersey became a must-have, flying off shelves. Television ratings climbed higher than ever before. The league had never witnessed growth like this from a single player so quickly, and it was impossible to ignore. But with such rapid growth came fear. Some veteran players and officials began to worry. The spotlight was focused heavily on one star. They feared that if Caitlin Clark dominated too quickly, it could shift the balance of power within the league. When future salary negotiations and collective bargaining agreements came around, a single star driving the league's popularity might weaken the position of other players. If sponsors, fans, and media attention were all drawn to one person.
She has made the game easier for her teammates because she's been involved in moving the ball.
The influence of the rest of the league could shrink. The league faced a quiet but important choice. Allow Clark to rise quickly and become the undisputed face of the WNBA, or manage her success carefully to maintain balance among many players. Every decision, even those seemingly unrelated to games, now carries weight. One way to manage this balance was through gameplay itself. Letting her games remain rough, allowing defenders to play hard against her subtly slowed her dominance. The effect was noticeable. Her stats did not explode as quickly as her talent might have predicted. The story of her season shifted from one of sheer dominance to one of struggle and resilience. Fans saw her fight hard, absorbing contact, getting up after collisions, and pushing through pain. The drama increased, but her rise was tempered. Music. It may sound strange that a league would influence games for these reasons, but in professional sports, business often hides behind basketball. Decisions made for ratings, sponsorships, and collective bargaining can affect how games are played. What fans interpreted as random missed calls or unusual referee behavior may have been part of a larger plan to protect existing power structures. Veteran players and executives could preserve influence while a rookie star's rise was moderated, keeping the league more balanced in perception and negotiations. Behind the scenes, every music collision, every missed whistle, and every hard-fought drive carried more meaning than fans realize. Caitlin Clark was not just playing for points and wins.
Caitlin Clark, head up, just the velocity, catch it.
She was navigating a system that measured not only skill but also control, attention, music, and influence. The games themselves became part of a larger story about business, power, and careful planning. By the end of the season, it became clear that her growth, while impressive, had been subtly managed. What looked like normal play in competitive basketball was intertwined with strategy, making Clark's success a mix of talent, endurance, and unseen decisions made in offices far from the court. Why she never spoke out. All season long, fans asked the same question. Music. Why didn't Caitlin Clark speak up? Why didn't she complain after games where calls went against her or when defenders seemed to push the limits of the rules? On the surface, it might have looked like quiet acceptance.
Bodies inside, Aaliyah Boston. How good is Aaliyah Boston?
But the real answer was more complicated and painful. As a rookie in the WNBA, Clark's salary was small compared to the fame and attention she had already earned. Even though her talent drew crowds and media coverage, the league's rules gave referees, music, wide discretion. Speaking out publicly against officiating could carry heavy fines under the player conduct policy. A single post or comment could cost her thousands of dollars, sometimes a significant portion of her season's pay. For a player just starting her career, that was a risk she could not afford. Worse than fines was the risk to her brand. Caitlin Clark had already attracted music, high-profile sponsors, and endorsement deals. Companies had invested in her image as a rising star and role model. Any public criticism of the league, referees, or games might be seen as complaining or disruptive. That perception could make sponsors hesitate, potentially threatening millions of dollars in deals over the next few years. She was aware that every word carried weight and a single misstep could overshadow her in-court achievements. So, Clark chose silence. After especially tough games, she posted short messages on social media. On to the next one, she would write. No anger, no blame, music, just calm, focused words. Bodies inside. Aaliyah Boston. How good is Aaliyah Boston? It was her way of acknowledging setbacks while refusing to let them define her. The fans noticed, but few could grasp the reasoning behind her quiet approach. Her team also stayed silent in public. Coaches spoke privately to league officials, raising concerns about missed calls or excessive physicality. But in public, they encouraged Clark to play through contact, music, and keep moving forward. They knew that arguing in the spotlight would only create conflict and unwanted attention. Staying, music, quiet was safer for both Clark and the team. Later, when a referee broke their silence, it became clear that this quiet strategy had worked in the league's favor. Clark kept playing. Fans continued to watch. The league avoided public disputes, and the narrative of her rookie season focused on her perseverance rather than the decisions of officials. In the end, Clark's silence became part of her story. It showed a different kind of strength, one that didn't come from scoring points alone or making highlight reel plays. She carried enormous pressure without shouting, without protest. Music, every collision, every hard play, every missed call became another test of patience and focus. She let the game speak for itself, music, even when the whistle did not. Her calm endurance became a defining element of her rookie season. It proved her resilience, her awareness of the larger picture, and her ability to survive both the visible challenges on the court and the invisible pressures off it. In a season where every eye was on her.
Caitlin Clark, she is the greatest scorer college basketball has ever seen.
Clark showed that quiet strength could be just as powerful as a dominating performance. What began as a rookie season turned into something much bigger. A referee's silence breaking shows that Caitlin Clark's journey was shaped by more than defenders and baskets. It was shaped by choices made before games even started. This story is not about one bad call. It is about a system deciding how a star should rise and how much she should struggle along the way. Numbers, meetings, and money all point in the same direction. What fans saw was not random. It followed a quiet design. Caitlin Clark survived it with calm and focus. But the question remains, music. Should any player have to fight both opponents and invisible rules? Her second season will reveal whether the game changes or if the same pattern repeats. Stay with us because the next chapter of Caitlin Clark's story may reveal even more about how power really works in basketball.